Oh, it is such a gross day. But I wanted to come to my office because my kids are with grandparents. My husband was leaving. I was like, you know what? I'm going to my office before I go to dinner with a friend because I need to bring my lights and the current lights I have. I actually ordered some new lights to mount on the ceiling back here to point towards where I plan to film most of the time. Anytime I stand at this angle, I'm like, oh, that wall is beautiful. Is she pretty? When I published my last video, I mentioned that sponsorships were one of the 4 ways that I think every YouTuber should be monetizing their platform. In the video, I was like, hey guys, if you want a video about sponsorships, let me know. And you guys let me know. I would totally love to see a video about how to get sponsorships. I'd love a sponsorship how-to video. Please do a sponsorship video. Can you do a video on how to get sponsors? All the sponsorship things, all of them. Please make a video on how to get sponsorships, as I would love to learn how to start. I'm a very new YouTuber. Hold on, this angle is not good. Hold one moment. My makeshift tripod right now is this box of paper towels because I only have this like desk-y tripod / hold it while you vlog tripod in here. And I need to get a new like heavy duty tripod because I broke mine. But the box of paper towels will do for now. You should also know that it's almost completely dark outside right now. So I have some lights. This is gonna be an adjustment. Not that I'm gonna be filming in my office like at night most of the time, but it's gonna be an adjustment. Hey, howdy, hey y'all. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica Stansberry and I am pumped that you are here. Since you guys came through with the interest in talking about sponsorships, let's do just that. So I'm gonna be 10,000% real with y'all. I am probably not the most qualified to speak about sponsorships and all the things involved because that has never really been a massive focus of mine until recently. However, you should also know that I have been a co-host or a host of a podcast for the last 5+ years and have constantly been seeking out sponsors for those podcasts and have had a ton of success looking for sponsors for my podcast. And as I have been going forward and looking for sponsors here on the channel, I've got some things that I know work. Now, because this channel has always been part of my business and not necessarily me taking it from a creator perspective, which is what I'm doing moving forward, that is why I never really took the time or initiative to seek out sponsors for the channel necessarily. And I also turned away hundreds, if not thousands, of sponsorship requests over the last several years. For me, in that moment, it felt inauthentic to, have a sponsor in a video that I was also promoting my own thing in, or in some way was promoting something I personally did in. Now, I have a different opinion on that now, and I definitely think you can do both. You can position yourself as an expert, you can position yourself as a really awesome creator and still bring in sponsorships that help keep the lights on. And the really cool part about YouTube specifically is that, by the way, I know that it's echoey. You're just gonna have to bear with me for a few videos until I figure out at least temporary solutions, if not permanent solutions, but just like hang with me, okay? Okay. What I was saying was the really cool part about YouTube is that viewers expect that. Even if they don't expect sponsored content necessarily, they definitely expect to be interrupted in their view with an ad in some way. So we have the opportunity as creators to capitalize on that and it not feel really inauthentic because they're used to seeing it from all the other creators they watch, right? My setup is completely rigged up, and so if I want to change angles, I gotta move a lot of things. But I also really want that wall in the background of my video. So we'll get there. All right, so let's talk about kind of the strategy with sponsorships and where you should be looking, what you should be doing, and kind of where to get started. So we have all followed those people who will sell your soul for $1, right? Like we have followed the like ex-bachelorettes or the ex like runner-up in the Bachelorette who in 10 minutes starts using her following to sell FabFitFun boxes. We have all followed those people. Can I get an amen? And you don't want to be that person. It really pulls away from the authenticity of you and from the like relationship between you and your viewer. I have really been particular with the sponsorships I take even now as I'm going forward taking more sponsorships, because I'm not going to sell your eyeballs for $1. Like if I'm going to take on a sponsorship opportunity, it's going to fit really well and I'm going to know that you guys would actually want the thing that we're talking about. So the first thing we want to think about when looking at sponsorships is, how is this going to fit into what I'm already talking about? And is my audience actually going to care about what this is? I would go a step further even as to say, is it relevant to why your audience is coming to you? So for example, if I am specifically talking to women on my channel, then theoretically I could, have a sponsor that really just has any kind of product for women. But if I'm talking to female business owners or female YouTube creators or whatever, then if I have a random female-centric product that really doesn't have anything to do with what I normally talk about here on this channel and what you normally come here for, then it's gonna come off as inauthentic. Example, FabFitFun box. If I sit here and I'm like, oh, check out this new FabFitFun box. This is not a FabFitFun box, obviously. This is lights that I'm gonna put somewhere in this studio. But if I'm like, in the middle of a review of a camera or something like that, and I'm like, let me pause for a word from our sponsor, FabFitFun, it feels really inauthentic. So not only do you need to think about who your audience is as far as their demographic and what you use and think about already, but you need to think about things that will natively integrate into the content you're already creating. If you knew the crap I just had to move to get this angle, you would know how much I love you. Okay, so to really wrap up this point on sponsorships, I don't want you to take sponsorships just for the sake of taking sponsorships. Like, be intentional with the sponsorships you take and be intentional with, what's going to be best for your audience and what you actually use, and don't sell your audience's eyeballs for a product that really isn't even that good. Okay, but how do you actually get sponsors? Right? Like, how do you get someone to want to be like, hey, I'd love to give you some money to put my brand in your video? This is like a multi-tiered strategy. First, let me say that if you are creating content and you are creating quality content and you are growing on the platform, at a certain point, sponsors will approach you. Hands down, they absolutely will. They will approach you. They will say, hey, I'd love to get this in your video. I'd love for you to talk about this product. I'd love blah, blah, blah. And then, it's really easy to get sponsors because they're literally coming to you. But to be completely honest, that comes with time. That's not something that is going to happen for any of you right out of the gate. And that is something that, kind of you're striving for. So right now, as a small YouTuber, as someone who doesn't have sponsors coming to them all the time, the real key to getting sponsors is to pitch yourself. To know your worth and to ask. One of my biggest pieces of advice in business when anybody asks anything that's like, how did you get that guest on your podcast? How did you get a collaboration with this person? How did you get that sponsor? How did you get this thing to happen? Is always to just ask. That is the biggest piece of advice I think I could give you, is to just ask. Like, just ask. The worst they can say is no. But now you're on their radar. So even if they said no, you're now on their radar, and they may say yes later or may come back to you later. But right now, the worst they can say is no. So you're gonna wanna reach out and you're gonna wanna pitch them. But who do you pitch? I knew that was gonna be your next question. You pitch products and services that you already know and love and use. That's who you pitch. You pitch brands that already work with influencers or creators that are in your same niche and have your same kind of ideal client, ideal audience situation going on. That's who you pitch. So what I would do personally, my biggest advice to you right now when coming up with a list of people to pitch or whatever, is to like grab your phone, grab a piece of paper, whatever, and write down a list of 10 or 20 things that you currently know, use, and love that would be a good fit according to point number 1. So again, FabFitFun, when your whole channel is about tech, is not probably your best bet. But maybe you use a certain brand of camera and you could reach out to them. Maybe you use a certain brand of editing software and you could reach out to them. Maybe you love a certain lighting or whatever and you could reach out to that company. SD cards, like honestly guys, the possibilities are endless here, but make sure it's in line with who you're trying to attract, who is already watching you, what you already talk about, and things you already love, okay? So make a list of like 10 to 20 companies or products that you would love to reach out to. And then I want you to make another list of 10 to 20 companies that already sponsor channels similar to yours. And this may take a little digging. This may take you like trying to find channels that are similar to yours, or trying to find influencers on Instagram that are similar to you or whatever. But then you have a list of people to pitch of the products that you love and people to pitch of products that you could love, but maybe you don't love yet, and they're spending money on YouTube. This has actually been a really good test to see where I need/want lights. And I might not have enough lights. Also, my fire marshal husband would be mad at me right now because I have extension cords running to my lights. And he is not a fan of extension cords. But okay, now that you have your list of services and companies that you already love and use that your audience would love to know about, and you have your list of companies that are already doing sponsorships with other YouTubers or other creators, now all you have to do is reach out. That's it. But also, I understand that probably sounds like the scariest part, and it is, but I need you to remember one main thing. And that is to not spotlight you and your accolades and your success and all the things, but spotlight how you can put the spotlight on their product and how much it would serve and benefit your audience. That is the key to pitching companies and getting yeses, okay? It is not like, hi, I'm Jessica and I have 104,000 subscribers on YouTube and I am really awesome and here's all my stats and I'd love to work with you. Like, that ain't gonna work, guys. You have to let them know how much of an asset those 104,000 subscribers are to their product. So flip the script in how you think you would make yourself look good. That whole, here's how many subscribers I have, here's how many watch time hours, like all the things that YouTubers care about. You don't really need to care about that. Yes, that needs to be included in your pitch and that needs to be something that they know because it's vanity metrics and sponsors care about vanity metrics. But more importantly, it has to be about the benefit of using you to get their product in front of their exact ideal customer who watches your channel. So technically, all you need to do then is come up with a pitch and email them. Go ahead and shoot them an email. Now, I do have a secret insider tip here that I want to give you, and that is to use something like Hunter.io. This is not sponsored by Hunter.io, but them and Bubbly Water should really hit a girl up. Know what I'm saying? And you should also be really appreciative that I am enunciating the word Hunter, because it would normally be like Hunter. Hunter.io. Hunter.io is a free service. You can use it. They might have a paid option. I'm not 100% sure, but essentially it's a Chrome extension. And actually, I don't even think you have to use it as an extension. You can go to their website, but it's a Chrome extension. And what it does is once it's installed, when you're on a website, so let's say I want to go to Bubbly Water's website and I want to contact them and reach out to see if they will sponsor me in some way. All I have to do is go to their website, so get on the main domain of the company that you want to reach out to for sponsorships, and click the little fox that's like the Hunter.io symbol, and it will pop up and populate a list of email addresses that are associated with that URL. And a lot of times they are verified. So somehow the system has seen like, absolutely, this is a valid email, or this is the valid email for the person who handles sponsorships or whatever. Now, I'm not saying this is a foolproof kind of situation. There's always the chance that like somebody's left the company, or those emails are not necessarily correct, or whatever. But it's a really good starting point if they don't have contact information straight on their website for their promotional team. So find the email address or addresses of the right person or people in the promotional or marketing or influencer team, because a lot of companies like have a dedicated team now for these areas of their company. Go ahead and find the email addresses for those companies and send them an email. Let them know that you love their product, that you would love to work with them, how awesome your audience is, why your audience is ideal for their product, and why you are a great person to kind of shine the light on their product. Now, inevitably, I'm going to get the question, but Jessica, I have like 100 subscribers, or I have a really small channel, or whatever. And I get that. Like, that's totally fine. I need you to know a couple of things. One, a lot of these big companies have an advertising, marketing, partnership, whatever, budget that they have to spend every year. And I know that sounds like weird and almost far-fetched for those of us who run small businesses, because we're like, why would you have to spend money, But these companies have these budgets that they have to spend every year. And so they're constantly looking for good partnerships and good partners and good creators to partner up with to spend that budget. And so let's say just for like a quick number, they have $10,000 to spend. Somebody like Peter McKinnon, or a creator with 1 million or more subscribers, is probably charging these companies, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 for sponsorship spots on their channel because they have so many eyeballs watching their videos. Disclaimer, I have no clue how much Peter McKinnon charges a sponsor to put an ad spot in his videos. Do not think that I do. I do not at all. I don't know how much anybody charges. And by the way, we're going to get into rates here in just a minute and how to figure that out. But let's say that he charges $30,000 to put an ad spot in one of his videos, and this company, let's say Bubbly Water again, they only have $10,000 to spend this year on advertising or partnerships or influencers or whatever like that's classified as in their business. They can't physically pay this bigger creator. So what they're going to do is they're going to make the most of their money with smaller channels. Sure, they might pay somebody $5,000 or $3,000 or $2,000 who has a bigger channel and charges a bit more, but they're probably then going to be looking for smaller creators who they can pay $100 or $20 or $50 or $500 or whatever to get their product featured. And so just because you're a smaller creator doesn't mean you're not open to sponsorships. It doesn't mean you're not good enough or have enough clout or whatever to get a sponsorship. It just means that you charge less. That's really what it means. So how much do you charge? That's really the question, right? And I will say there's absolutely no exact formula. Every person's going to charge a different amount. And a person with 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and in my instance, as you know, I have talked about how there are creators with the same amount of subscribers that I have who have way more views per video. And generally, that's kind of what sponsors look at for YouTube specifically, is kind of your views per video in a given time frame. Some of them are like, how many views is this person getting on average in a month or a week or whatever. So there are creators who get way more views per video than I do with the same amount of subscribers, and they can charge more than I can. And so there's not really like a set, if you have this many subscribers, you should be charging this amount of money. The number that I've heard tossed around in the influencer space is about $100 for every 10,000 followers that you have on a given platform. So if we're talking about YouTube, then if you have 10,000 subscribers, you could charge about $100. Now that's, again, not Bible and not something you absolutely have to stick to or is the only rate you can charge. but it's a good starting point. And there's actually a service called Social Blue Book where you can link up your social media site, whatever kind of influencer platform you want to link up, to see how much you should charge a sponsor, and it will tell you how much you could/should charge a sponsor. Now, I will say that I charge quite a bit more than Social Blue Book says for a couple of different reasons, and these are really great tips for you as well if you're a small YouTuber or if you're a small influencer in some way. And one of those reasons is that I don't just charge for YouTube as a sponsorship. I also include a mention on Instagram stories and a link on Facebook and other social platforms where I have even more followers following me. So I kind of like bundle my social media sites together to get the price that I charge. That way I can charge more and the advertiser is getting more bang for their buck. Another thing that you need to know when you start reaching out to sponsors and start negotiating prices is that if you care about your audience, they will see that. And they will usually be willing to kind of pay you more than maybe they think you're worth because they see the conversions from other ads or sponsors on your channel. So I've actually had conversations with sponsors who, when I send them my rates, they're like, absolutely not. We like that's an insane rate based on the amount of views you get per video. And I go back to them and I say, hey, I understand that you normally wouldn't do that, but this is not just I'm gonna throw a sponsorship up in the video. This is an integrated sponsorship and here's how it works. And generally when I come at them with stats and facts and figures, they're like, you know what? You just sold us. Let's do this. Another quick note about rates is to be negotiable. Now, I have set rates and we try our hardest to always stick to those, and they go up as my engagement goes up or as my follower count goes up or whatever. But sometimes it is worth taking less money because it's going to establish a relationship that will be built and held for years to come. So while someone might come to me now and be like, hey, actually, we'd love to sponsor a video from you for, half the cost you proposed, but we want to do 6 videos, and after that we can reevaluate the cost. And if you can blow them out of the water for those 6, then they're probably gonna go up to your rate in the next round, and you can actually make that really known that hey, if they want to continue to work with you, then they should, pay the price, essentially. I want to say a few more things, particularly about approaching sponsors with a small channel. And one of those things is to not forget about local businesses or smaller companies who might not be taking the opportunity every day to sponsor YouTubers. So because I live in a teeny tiny little town, anytime I have the opportunity to feature a local business over a national or massive business, I take it. So when I'm looking at, oh my gosh, I'd love to get a neon sign for my new studio, and I'd love to work with someone in a sponsored way to do that, I didn't initially look nationally. I looked locally, and I found a company just a few hours away who is awesome, and I'm going to be working with to develop my new neon sign. So I think sometimes we don't think outside the box. This is the box I'm putting myself in. I'm going to fit in there, and I'm only going to do it the way everybody else has done it, and that's the end of that. And you should absolutely, especially if you're a small YouTuber looking at sponsorships, think outside the box. How can you increase the value with each sponsorship pitch so that you can make more money, but also so that they have better results? How can you reach out to companies that are not yet maybe using or utilizing YouTube sponsorships? And you could be someone to kind of help them navigate that. How can you make your audience worth getting in front of for these companies? That's really what you need to be thinking about, especially if you're a small YouTuber. One last little point before we wrap this up, and that is that YouTube is different than other platforms when it comes to sponsorships, and sometimes you have to point that out to sponsors, especially sponsors who are used to only working with Instagram influencers or some other type of influencer, or sponsors who are not used to working with influencers at all. And that is that the content on YouTube has a much longer shelf life than content on platforms like Instagram or Facebook or podcast or anything of that nature. So when you are looking to pitch a sponsor, letting them in on that little secret, that maybe you have a video from 3 years ago that still gets 100 views per week, or maybe you have a video from 2 years ago that's currently being picked up in the algorithm, and let them see that the possibilities are a little bit longer and the relationship is actually a little bit longer than if they were sponsoring a different type of content. And I think that's something that people forget about sometimes, especially when they're pitching. But also, I think that it's something that not a lot of advertisers or sponsors even know about. They don't realize that the shelf life on YouTube is so much longer than on something like a podcast where you get most of your listens on the day that it's released. You know, you can get backlog listens, but it's not near as much as what happens on YouTube with the algorithm and with older content. Like if I go to my homepage on YouTube and I'm looking at the content that is being served up to me, a lot of the content is years old. So like I'm literally scrolling through, here's a video from Tim Ferriss from 2 years ago. Here's a video about a camera. I've obviously been researching cameras, but here's a video about a camera from a year ago. Here's a video from someone I subscribed to from a year ago. Here's a video from Peter McKinnon from 3 years ago. So YouTube is constantly serving up old content to pacify and, you know, make people who are looking for it aware that it's available. And that's really not something that happens on other platforms. And so as you're reaching out to sponsors and as you're looking for people to sponsor your channel, it's a really great little thing to throw in there. Like, hey, so did you know that this happens on YouTube? So because I've literally had to move the lights around every single spot I moved to today because it is legit dark outside, this video has taken me forever to film it. And now I only have about 30 minutes to get one small other video I need to film filmed and get out the door to go have dinner with a friend of mine. So I hope this was a really, really helpful look at sponsorships and look at how you can approach them, how you can pitch them, how you can get started. Even if you are a teeny weeny tuber, teeny weeny little YouTuber, you can get sponsorships, I promise. Use the tips that I gave you. Anything that I mentioned in today's video will be linked below in the description. And this new camera is entirely too heavy for me to hold, so bye y'all!